I'm going to talk to you.
Me, Bragi.
And Bragi as well is hanging around. I'm going to talk to you about the Viking gods and something else I was supposed
Norse
to.
mythology.
Norse mythology. Yeah, I'm glad he's here. But anyway.
I'm like your brain.
I don't know if you heard that, but the Vikings in the early stages, when they first came here, 793, they believed in lots of gods and goddesses. Of course, Odin, Thor, Freya, Frigg, Balder, many others.
Bragi, god of poetry.
Now, why would they believe in that? They believed that these were there to cope with various aspects of life. And if you think about it, each one of these gods represents, we've all got a bit of trickery in us, we've all got honor in us, we've all got a bit of violence in us, we've all got a bit of fertility in us. And that's how they viewed things. And of course, it's only natural from that they would create stories. But these stories were not just entertainment, they were meant to educate possibly the younger people, who knows, but to educate the audience would probably be a better way. And sometimes the actions have consequences, even for the gods. And they're basically saying that if the gods get in trouble, you will as well. And how one thing leads on to another, in that Loki, of course, he represents, they say, evil. It's not evil, it's trickery. And you know, when he's hiding in the glove and he's captured by the giants, the natural enemies of humanity and the gods, that he is then forced into action where he shaves Freya's head and all this lot, and it's like links in a chain. And in the end, obviously, it ends with the Ragnarok, the destruction of the gods. Now, I have an issue with Ragnarok in that it slots neatly into Christianity. Nothing against Christianity, it's just that, you know, it doesn't fit, because if you look at the sagas, Odin is killed by the beast in the sea. But if we look back at the earlier versions, Thor kills the beast. You can't have it both ways. He can't have killed it and then the monster killing Odin. And it's an adaptation, a slip from the Norse gods to Christianity. Good or bad, it's up to you to decide, but it was what the situation was. People couldn't trade with pagans, and the Vikings didn't really, as far as they were concerned, went off to Islamic nations. They traded there, Allah. Then they would go home to Norway or Scandinavia and back to the hammer wearing and the old gods. Come to England, it's a cross. You just keep changing it. It's only later on that things progressed, depending on your point of view, that times change, and that's the point. You either adapt or you go into obscurity. And the Vikings were not the sort of people who faded into obscurity. Yeah, such is life. We have a rich tradition from them, and believe it or not, there are people today who follow the old gods. That'll be me. Not so, you know, and it's up to everybody to do what they want to do. If that's what lights your candle, then fine. So if we look on the gods as a facet of a human nature, we've all got a bit of trickery, we've all got a bit of sensuality in us. And here comes Bragi.
So I was checking everything's okay.
Yeah.
You got 2 watches, 1 thumbs up. Let's have a look. Any comments for you?
There we go. We've got messages in.
So we've got Finn Rafe. He says hi. Hello.
Oh, okay.
And he says maybe Ragnarok is not some kind of final end, but an end to one time and the beginning of a new time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it sort of symbolises the end of official paganism into Christianity. You know, with the Boulder figure who died and was reborn.
But surely, from the Norse point of view, Ragnarok would have been written before Christianity. So how would they be able to predict?
That's where we disagree. I think it was an addition later on to justify accepting Christianity. But
so you think Ragnarok is more of a Christian written idea?
Well, you look at that and then look at the Christian end of the world. There's striking similarities.
Well, then again, you look at Jesus and the amount of people that were crucified and had the same structure Jesus had. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, Christianity itself was borrowed from several other religions, Judaism being the main one.
I mean, you only need to look at the documentary Zeitgeist, the original first one. Not seen that for a while.
Mm.
Unusual word.
Mm.
So, not made your coffee yet. I was just talking about the care situation we have because Derby City Council, that's our council, have been overcharging my dad by a lot of money.
Sounds about right.
And they're quite happy to keep it in the banks and gain interest on it and not pay back.
Mm.
Anyway, another problem.
But you owe them and woof, straight in, no messing.
Was that the same in the Dark Ages if you owed somebody money? How would that debt have been settled?
I suppose it depends who you owed money to. I mean, if you owed it
the king.
You kept quiet about it. You may have brought it up, but you could find yourself literally losing your head or something equally horrible.
So how far have you got into talking about the Viking gods?
Well, I started off and as usual rambled on about this, that and the other. I was just going to say that if you look at the gods as like facets on a diamond, as being human characteristics, it makes more sense. You know, you have the sort of spiritual side, Odin. You have a sexual side, Freya.
Oh, of course so.
You have the masculine woof side, Thor.
Oh, yes.
You know, and it goes on and on. And if you look at it in those terms, it makes more sense. If you look on the sagas, you can see that it teaches lessons. Doesn't matter if you're a god or a commoner, if you mess up, it has consequences. And it sort of, I think it wouldn't be wasted on the audience of the time. You know, I used Loki. You know, he sort of gets where it shaves off Freya's hair and all this lot leads to the dwarves.
Yeah.
And then it ends up where he's ending up against Thor, his best mate at the time.
Now, talking about Thor, there's always been that controversy about Thor, whether he had a red beard or not. Now, some people say the red beard thing is actually wrong. He never had a red beard. He was not a redhead. So what are your thoughts on that? I think, from my point of view, that Thor was red-headed and had a red
I'm
beard.
with you on that. If that's the case, why is it a lot of Vikings dyed their hair red with madder? I mean, you know, we're not talking scarlet, we're talking gingerish. And why was it red-haired people were so favoured, especially red-haired women? You know, I mean, if that's the case, the way Thor had ordinary coloured this type hair, why is there such a mythology about red-haired people? You know.
Well, just look how that relates to the actual bird, the robin, when you got the folk tale of the story, the origin of how the robin got the red breast. Now, the two versions, well, the main original version is that the robin got the red breast from the blood of Jesus when he landed on the cross and got tinted. But also, they also say that the robin also, in the more North mythology, was that he was associated with actual Thor. And that is why the robin has a red breast.
Well, the trouble we've got, and it's the same throughout Anglo Norse stuff, is written by the winners.
Well, that's very true.
And also by a literate society. The majority of Norse people couldn't read or write. Okay, maybe a lot of them did runes, but that's not the same. It's a different kettle of fish. The monks, it's like, you know, you read about things today, it's always the winners that write their account.
Indeed.
So, you know, there's that to think about. And of course, they're not going to plug the paganist side. They're there to promote Christianity. Good, bad, or indifferent doesn't matter, but that's what they're there for. But an interesting point of view is when they do these, who are they aimed at? The average monk possibly could read, and we forget reading and writing don't necessarily go together. Emperor Charlemagne, he could read, but he couldn't write, so he couldn't put his name to anything, which was a crafty thing to do.
Now, wasn't it Charlemagne who was responsible for spreading about learning? Because he sent monks out to create learned centres or centres of learning, so that the monks and the average man could learn more. I believe that's true.
He did good for his nation, but if you were a pagan, he wasn't so good at all.
Well, no.
He persecuted paganism. Nobody should persecute anybody because of their religious beliefs, But getting back to who was literate, we've got the Book of Kells and things like that. Who was it for? Because you think about it, the average person in the street couldn't read or write and didn't care to. Various lords, unlikely they could read. It'd be for the religious communities, the higher ups, to give them guidance. And this is where Christianity scores a goal, in that, say you're in the 6th century.
Yes.
And you write, I don't know, you've got to do this, that and the other, and you write it down. 200 years later, they come to your writings and it's exactly what you said. Whereas you can interpret it, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, yes.
Whereas this is why you get such variants with Norse
Go back
mythology.
to the comments, just in case we missed any.
Comments.
So, so a couple more comments from Finwave. If we go back and read these. I don't know why the comments aren't showing up when they come out. It's the settings on the YouTube live app. Now, and now we're at the new time when Christianity is in decline, at least in the West, and paganism is being revived. I think that's very true.
It is true to a point. I mean, also, there is an upsurge of Islam. But things change. It's the way it is. Nothing stands still. Good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, yes, paganism is on the up and up. There are people who object to the word paganism. I don't care. I know what I believe. It's up to you. And this is one great thing, freedom of worship. We have a sizable immigrant community who bring their religious ideas. Nothing wrong in that. If that's what you believe, then go in peace.
Well, where would the UK be without immigration and people coming over?
Well, I mean, we've always sort of been that way.
Now, I've got another commenter, just finishing up on Finway's comments.
Right.
And he says, but then it's a question, if it was wrong to persecute pagans, would it have been wrong if pagans took measures to stop Christianity from spreading because they were being oppressed?
To be honest with you, both sides have got blood on their hands.
Oh, indeed.
Think about the Romans, they were persecuted people. And I'm sure, where the pagans were as bad as the Christians. One cancels out the other, in my view. Tolerance, that's the word. You've got to be able to tolerate people's beliefs. You may not follow them, may not agree with them, but that's not your problem. Your problem is be true to yourself. And I remember a friend of mine when I was at university, Guy, if you watch it.
I doubt it.
He said to me that if your spiritual nirvana is a Pepsi Cola can, then worship it, but do it for the right reasons, not because everybody else does it. And that made more sense to me than all the theological stuff that came out. And it's true. It's true then. It's true now, as far as I'm concerned.
This is what I like about paganism, is the fact that you can adapt it to your own beliefs and your own method of practice. Whereas I'd imagine if you're a practicing Christian, you're kind of limited to what you can do as in practicing Christianity, are you? Would that be your own fair judgment?
I don't know. I mean, you're asking the wrong person, but I've a very good friend of mine. She's a very devout Christian, and we agree on most things. And, some of my best friends are Christians, But that doesn't mean, you don't judge a person by their religion.
Of course not.
You judge a person by who they are.
The actions.
Yeah. But I mean, when you think about it, two of the biggest wars in humanity are fought, I mean, the Germans had got me tons on their belt, and if you ask the English, God's with us. Well, I think if I was God, I wouldn't be with anybody.
Yes, that's one thing we forget about the Germans, was that they were Christians in World War II and both wars.
Well, depends what part you were in. I mean, but even so, it's an excuse. People kick off, and who is it for? Mostly for people who've got a lot of money and power and want more.
Well, let's face it, there's war in money, and that is why the West and society likes wars throughout history, because they make money out of it.
Yeah.
There's always those that benefit and always those that suffer.
Yeah.
And those that suffer are generally the poor, and those that benefit will always be the rich.
Yeah.
Or the ones with the most money, with the control. But that's just another subject for another day.
Yeah. We got any more comments?
Oh, well, I'm just thinking about what's your idea and thoughts about modern paganism then, compared to old paganism?
I think basically...
I adjust the camera.
I think we ought to talk about neo-paganism, because all the ceremonies that we do today, whether you're Norse, whether you're Wiccan, whatever, all come, I think it was from Israel Regard, who set out a basic ceremony. We don't know, if we're being honest, what the original ceremonies were. And I strongly suspect that if we did know, they'd be highly illegal. I mean, you talk about the 9-year blood feast at Uppsala, where he killed 9 of every male of the species. You'd have the police sniffing around, and quite rightly. Times change, so do ceremonies and things like that. It's, we don't do human sacrifice.
The police will come around for any reason these days and knock your door down.
Well, I mean, I won't do animal sacrifices. There are some, I'm sure, that do, but at the same time,
But don't you associate such things like that as with Satanism more than anything else?
Well, to me, Satanism is merely it's like the opposing side of Christianity, the naughty side of God, if you will.
Well, you have to be a Christian to be a Satanist, don't you?
Exactly, mundo.
If you wonder what I'm doing, I'm just making a conical helmet, and I'm going to have a face of Odin here on your stick.
Right,
and then we're going to finish it off with more carving down here at Egil, and I might do a serpent in the middle.
Well, I'll be honest, I have met 2 Satanists, and they were the most boring people I've ever met. They look like twins in their charcoal grey suits and beards. They look like they ought to be behind the counter of a bank. And I was at a green festival at this woman's house, and they just looked disapproving at everything, and I thought, how boring you people look.
I had some more comments. Let's go and read these. We do love reading your comments, and we will promise to film some more comment reading videos in the future.
Groovy gravy, baby.
We've got a lot to catch up on.
Certainly have.
I did once say, on camera, that we're going to go back from day one and on a live stream read every comment. We best do it soon before we get too many.
We've got about 3 months spare. Go on then.
So we've got to go back to Finwraith. Just bear with me a minute as I catch up with these comments. I'm reading them first in my own mind. So it might be a question today, since there are some places where Islam is still quite oppressive. Should it be allowed to spread if it can also cause similar behaviour?
That's a whole
subject, and I've probably say no.
Bag of whoopee tush. It's more political, and I don't go into politics because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
I got another subject for you to talk about here.
Go on then.
Something you know something about, but I've got to read these 2 comments from our new subscriber and our new viewer. His name is Chris Sigurdsson.
Hi, Chris.
So they basically saying in a comment a few days ago, they was asking about black tunic and basically saying, are black tunics okay? In a response to one of our videos about tunics. So in the question, I'm going to just read the comments from him. It says, hello, you wicked old man. Thanks for the greet earlier, a couple of days ago. Well, you're more than welcome. Whenever we get somebody new, we always try to do a welcome on the
Yeah.
comment, and it comes from you, me, and Tyrkir.
It's only good manners, isn't it?
And he says, I got the black tunic, as you said, would be fine historically. Do you want to talk about black tunics and black dye
Well,
and your experience?
when I was in a reenactment group, I was told we couldn't have black tunics. I think that was largely because they didn't want everybody turning up in black.
Fair enough.
However, I found when I was digging in York, herringbone, which was black and grey. And also the monks' robes were black. And some of them were black. How did they do it? Well, you have black sheep, and you can make cloth out of black wool.
Yes, that's one way of doing it.
I don't think it was a common colour to wear, just plain black. Maybe you had bits of black in it. It depends.
I think it would have been one of those more rarer wool colours.
Well, as I say, we found it was grey and black herringbone. It's actually like trousers today you see in famous stores, with M&S.
And of course,
like that.
They had the availability to go and trade and get henna, didn't they? Which they could also use as a dye, I believe.
Well, henna is red. It's very effective, and also the reason they get the red is they urinate in it, and that's a madder colour.
Well, yeah, I like madder.
But if you didn't add the aforementioned human bodily fluid, you came out as green.
Well, yes, of course so.
The reason, colours in the Viking Age denoted your status. The darker the colours, the higher up you went. The only colour that kings and bishops could wear is purple. Such is the way. And it was a simple way of identifying people and their social class as to where they could go. Like this, you and I would not be welcome at the court. In fact, we'd be turned away quite forcibly. If we were dressed in purple, you could go in there. And also people knew, we've got some more comments, that people of their own status would stick together, things like that.
I wouldn't go for a heavily black combo. I mean, like a tunic is nice, but I wouldn't have black tunic and the trousers. I'd try to change the trouser colour.
It may, as far as I'm concerned, maybe it was a clerical colour, because all black.
Well, like you're saying, I mean, if some monk clothing wore black, then and there's a limited supply of black wool because of the limited amount of black sheep about, then that would be a more higher cost.
Well,
your yarn.
What do you guys think? Maybe you've got the lowdown on that, because I know I'd certainly like to hear about it.
We've been asked before about Blackwood as well, from Martin from Belfast. Remember him?
Oh, right, yeah. We've got some more comments.
So let me go back to comments. Hang on, I've got to get on my knees for this.
Ooh, mate.
It's like praying.
I don't know about that.
So Finwave says it's not human sacrifice unless the person agrees to be killed. Yeah, so you can see that also, I suppose, with the bog bodies.
Wow.
So Chris says, doesn't Saxo Grammatus mention the Black Danes and Throthro II of Denmark, the three Danish kings?
Yeah, I can remember that quote, whether he meant it as black clothing or black as in temperament.
We have a comment here from someone I've not seen before in our comments. This is Julian Aspostata. I hope I got that right. And he says, but if you kill somebody in ritual, it's human sacrifice. Even she agrees to the sacrifice himself. And then Chris says, how about black tunic and red Bordeaux, red festive pants, the baggy ones? Oh, yes, you can't beat a good pair of baggies. But also remember that they're more of an Eastern impression. Yeah. Although as a Viking, you could have said, well, I've been to the East, I've been to Byzantium, or I met somebody who traded them. So these things are always possible. You can always create that story of how you got that item, I think. So let's face it, we're not to be all dressed in the same sense and the same way, do we? And of course, that's another thing about Viking dress is that they chose what to wear themselves. It wasn't uniformal.
Well, do you remember when they got a batch of newbies in, the lineup looked like a gnome's rebellion with their little pixie hats and all the same blank clothing.
So Chris says that is actually interesting. What does the black temperament mean?
Well, there you go.
So if you can explain that one, Egil.
I can't.
No, well, we've got a monk's outfit round here, but it's
Black
a brown
temper-
one.
Well, black has always been associated, from what I can gather, with depression. Perhaps because it mirrors nighttime. I don't know, but yeah, there's probably a logical explanation. But I'll be honest, I don't really know. Hang on, he's tinkering around at the back there with some robe. Oh,
This is a monk's robe.
Yeah.
So this is a more of this early Anglo-Saxon one. With a hold one end, I can hold the other one. Hide behind it. It's quite big actually, quite baggy. Now, if you watch one of the latest videos on May the 4th, I did a Star Wars May the 4th of May be with you video, and I was wearing this.
Oh yeah.
And it's got a massive hood. So this is more Anglo-Saxon, but would also be fine, you know, if you had a, that's a sleeve, that is actually. There's a hood. It's absolutely massive.
Well, there you go.
So we do have one.
Yeah, we've had some more
That have a black dark wool one.
We had a load of comments while you were
I'll go back again.
Yeah.
Now we are going to end this in a minute, because this is meant to be a 30-minute live stream.
All right.
But the idea is we're going to go in the garden, do some more filming, and then around about 6:30 we'll go do another live stream for you. We're going to get two in today. Oh, yeah, just finished the day. And every time Egil filmed, we're going to promise to do at least one live stream.
Woof woof.
So when you see the live streams, you know we're filming.
All right, what does it say?
So it says, Chris Sigurdsson, he says,
Chris.
man, you people are knowledgeable, much fun and entertainment to listen to.
Thanks.
That's one thing we try to be on this channel.
Yeah.
We try not to bore you. We try to entertain and educate at the same time. And I kind of came up with the term, the phrase, we're edutainers.
Yeah.
Because we do educate and we do entertain. Let's face it, there's so many great historical channels out there, but they lack in that entertainment and that sense of humour.
Well, I think that's why things like Time.
But still, they're very good.
It's like Time Team, very successful because they entertain as well as educate.
They're the Bringing Back Time team on YouTube as well.
Even though they did me out of a job, but never mind.
So Finn Wave says, what time is it there now? So it's just gone 4:15 in the afternoon.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was 3.
And Julian says, black has always been associated with the night, the dark side of nature, and so on, just as bright colours were associated with sunshine and joy. Well, you can see that.
Yeah.
But, you know, don't you think one of the reasons why in your time as a reenactor, they didn't like people wearing black, because probably during those times, heavy metal and rock was a big thing?
And I think the reason is that they thought everyone would be in black. And
Yeah, but there's a lot of heavy metal dudes in regular Anglo.
yeah,
Just mentioned Tyrkir for one.
yeah. Well, I like a bit of metal myself.
Oh, yes. Bit of old Jethro.
Yeah, Jethro Tull, I saw Lemmy.
Oh, yes. I've got another comment. We'll go back down. But we'll at some point make some more admins on the channel. So, Finwave says, I think it's wrong to think dark is automatically seen as evil. Yeah, I do agree with you there. I personally like to wear black when I go out. It's not on a very hot summer day. And Chris Sigurdsson, quick question. What is the story behind the hats? And what is the historical evidence behind headwear in Viking times? Well, both our hats are classed as the Burka style hat.
Yeah.
And this hat was found during an archaeological dig in Burka, I do believe. And then you have your other styles of hat, like
Conical.
your conical hat.
You see that on wood engravings, and it seems to be the more common of them. This is called the Frisian cap, isn't it?
No, the Frisian hat is the one with the peak point. And then you have the other one, which is more... If you need some patterns for hats, let me know, because I can provide you patterns or give you the information on how to make your hats.
The woodcuts I've seen of the Norse, they all seem to be wearing these conical caps, and it would lend itself to suggest that they were stiff leather, maybe. I don't know.
Yes, well, that's one item we neglect to make hats out of, is leather.
Well, I mean, I've got a little statuette of Thor with the hammer.
Yes.
And he's got a conical cap on.
Yes, definitely.
Makes sense that, you know, if it's raining,
Now, you will see us on a lot of different hats, and the purpose for that is purposely to make us look different in the thumbnails and our videos. So we probably own too many hats, a typical Viking will probably own what, 1 or 2 hats at the most.
Yeah.
So,
well, we've got something else there now.
so this is Chris Sigurdsson again. He says, I like the style that you have, burger hats. It fits nice. I am wondering if I should get one, as though, well, to be honest. Well, yes.
Yeah. Well,
Make one.
The kind of hats that we've got on are easy enough to make. Even I've made.
Oh, yeah. This is like a, this will be what, a pattern 12 inches, I would say, by probably 14 inches with 2 side lines going up. So it's an elongated triangle.
It's a good thing to make in lockdown, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I made a few of these in lockdown.
Mm.
But there's enough evidence and data out there about hats.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the other controversy. Did they have hoods?
Well, also, these are good to wear if you're wearing a helmet. I had one for years till some charmer threw it away for me. I don't know who it was. But you can make them out of old blankets or whatever, you know. As long as you check the colours commensurate.
I mean, those ones used to be a pair of pants that used to belong to Tyrkir. So there you go. You can
Tyrkir.
Find an old hat, old pair of pants, and make it into hats. I got about 4 hats out of that.
When I was a kid, I remember I used to put my pants on my head and pretend I was a skin guy.
Now we are going to have to go in a minute because this room's about to be used. So we need to vacate the filming studio. But we're going to go in the garden and we'll try to do a live stream. We'll do it indoors or outdoors when we finish.
Whatever.
We'll see. So
depends how long it takes your dad to do what he's got to do.
One day we will try to figure out how I can demonstrate sewing on the channel. I just found it a little bit difficult to try to get myself in the shot and the sewing in the shot. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Yeah, I mean, that one's a cheap one from China. So that was about £3 or £4, about $5. And then the one Egil's wearing, take your hat off, is a much better one. It's a UK manufacturer and is a William III coin made into a brooch, very much like a later brachiotet. And brachiotettes are like coins that are converted to brooches.
Well, those who are skillful, you can buy cheap Roman coins and make an authentic job.
And I think the reason why we also wear hats is that we look better on camera in a hat.
Well, I just look good anyway.
And we're going to go now. So
okay.
We've got to go and leave this area. Can't say that word.
Vacate.
That's the one. Yes, indeed.
Okay.
So goodbye. We'll see you in a bit.
Ta-ta.
It'll be around about 2 hours or more.
All right.
2.5 hours.
Okay.
That's my plan.
Groovy gravy.